Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and we're here to have a conversation over the next 20 minutes or so with some of our key county professionals to discuss the career of becoming a police officer. There is a civil service exam that is coming up in May 15th and May 16th, and individuals that are interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement as a police officer will be able to register for that exam through March 29th. And to discuss a little bit about what that career path is like and what the opportunity is for individuals who may be interested, I'm joined today by our Commissioner of Public Safety for Westchester County, Commissioner Sheriff Tom Gleason, our Deputy Commissioner, Terrence Rayner, and Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins, who is the son of an NYPD police sergeant. And so, gentlemen, thanks very much for being here to have this conversation. Happy to be with you all.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with a little bit about the personal side of this. There are young men and young women right now that, if they're seeing this video, they're perhaps going to consider whether or not a career in police and law enforcement is right for them. And so, Tom, you made a decision once upon a time as a young man. Terrence, you made a decision once upon a time as a young man. If each of you would share, what were the thinking that you had that led you into a career in law enforcement? Tom?
Certainly. Thank you, boss. So I've been asked that question many times throughout my career, a little bit differently, kind of what made you decide to get into law enforcement? Did you come from a law enforcement family or have a strong passion as a young man for law enforcement? And quite honestly, I really didn't. I didn't have any police officers in my family. I didn't necessarily have a strong urge to go into law enforcement. Like many young people, I was in college, probably a freshman or a sophomore in college, and not really sure what I wanted to do for my career. And some of my friends were taking the county police exam and asked me if I was interested in coming to take the exam. And at the time, like I said, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I kind of took the exam on a whim one Saturday, and then didn't think much about it afterwards. I got my grades a few months later. I got a letter saying I forget, I got like an 88 or something like that. I ranked number 300 on the countywide list. I didn't really know what that meant. So I took the letter and I put it aside and continued my studies. As I went on in college, I had the intention of going to law school. And back at that time, those of us that remember the early 80s, there was a glut of candidates for law school. And when I went to talk to one of my advisors junior year, he advised me, Fordham Law School, where I did my undergraduate work, was accepting about 300 students for their law school program, and they had over 3,000 applications annually. So even though I had pretty good grades and I did well on the law school admission test, make a long story short, I did not get accepted. So several weeks after that point, I started getting letters from police departments in the county canvassing me for the police job. So it just seemed ironic, in one of those, when God closes a door, he opens a window type thing, that I started more exploring the opportunity and the possibility of getting into law enforcement. And, when I got the letter from the county police offering me the job, I started looking more seriously into police work and considering it as a profession. And here I am, I ended up obviously getting hired, and here I am 38 years later. So even if, I guess my main point is to young people, even if you're not sure what you want to do, it's an option. Consider taking the exam. And just because you take the exam doesn't mean you have to take the job. You have time to think about it. If you get called and get the opportunity, see what your circumstances are. I mean, the test is only given about once every 4 years. So, why not keep that open as an option and, give it some consideration.
And I think that's an important thing to mention before we go to Terrence, is that the police exam is not frequently given. So for those who are thinking about it, once every 4 years, once every 5 years, and they create a new civil service list, this is an opportunity that passes by now that will take a while to come back again. Terrence, tell us a little bit about your decision as a young man to move into law enforcement.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. There are some similarities between myself and the commissioner's decision to take the job as a law enforcement officer, but there are some differences as well. Back in the early 80s, I was a victim of a crime, whereas my vehicle was stolen from in front of my home. And it just so happens it was the middle of the night. I heard the engine start and I knew it was my car. So I looked out the window and there went my vehicle driving away without me. And so I called the 911, and what I expected was I was going to get the response. We'll put someone on it. We're looking for your vehicle. However, instead, I was told that the department policy was that I was to go to police headquarters, file a report, and then prove the vehicle is mine. And then after that, the police officers would look for the car. And so I wasn't really happy, but at the time, what could I do? I wanted to get my car back as quickly as possible. So I went into headquarters and I lodged the complaint. I proved the vehicle was mine. And on my way out, I just had a brief conversation with the desk officer. It was a sergeant at the time. And I explained to him that, I just wasn't happy with the service. I didn't understand why they couldn't dispatch police officers to start looking for the vehicle and make whoever's driving it prove that they owned it. And so he told me, well, that's policy, there's nothing we can do about it. So I left headquarters and I went home. The next morning, I had a conversation with my dad, and he said, well, I explained what transpired at police headquarters. And of course, I was ready to go back down there with him and make some noise and complain and let them know that we didn't get the service that we believe we should have gotten. And so my dad, though, said to me, well, if you don't like their policies and you believe it should be changed, then you should consider taking the exam and being part of the change. And that, went through my mind, and I wasn't necessarily happy with what he said, but I thought about it. And over time, I said, you know what? He's right. If I want to be a part of the change that's going to take place in my community, take the exam, become a police officer, and be that change that I think we should all inspire to have. And so that's pretty much the short part of my story.
And of course, Terrence, before he became deputy commissioner of the county public safety department, is a former commissioner of the Mount Vernon Police Department. So he went from a grieved victim of a crime to the head of a police department in one of our municipalities. Now, Ken Jenkins, who serves as our deputy county executive, has a corporate background and obviously a career in public service. And he and I together, as the county executive and deputy county executive, have the responsibilities in this county. But Ken grew up in a household where his dad was a police officer and a police sergeant. And so from the human side of that, I'm sure that made him a tough dad, Ken, but what was it like to grow up in the house of a police officer?
Yeah, George, I certainly have the same stories or similar stories as you mentioned many times with your dad, Stan. My dad was Mel, and certainly, watching the work that he did as a police officer, first as a patrol officer, and then doing various activities, and then getting promoted to being a sergeant, where he was when he retired from the New York City Police Department. I understood that it was not only a challenging job, but it was extremely rewarding as well. Certainly I did, as Tom, Commissioner Gleason just mentioned a few minutes ago, I did take the test and decided on a different career path. But the fact is that the job of a police officer is certainly rewarding, and it's a great opportunity to see many different things. My dad had a vision that if I decided to go in there, that I would be down at one police plaza and doing the kind of computer work, which was my final degree, computer science and information systems, and being a part of that particular part of the police department. There's many different roles in our county police department. It's just besides the patrol officer, the various things, the Marine group, the helicopter group. There are various very specialized groups, a tremendous group of folks that do things in the bomb squad and all kinds of things. So it's a fantastic opportunity. And as the county executive is pointing out, it comes around once every 4 or 5 years, and making sure to have those different opportunities is so very important. And if you have that opportunity when you are in the military, there's some additional consideration given for time because of that, because there are so many different parameters. But George, it was definitely a military style household, as you've mentioned many times in conversation, that there were things, you did things first and you asked questions later, and I think that was extremely helpful for me as a young man that might have been a little scruffy at times. But for all of our folks out there right now, it is a time to be able to have those options for themselves. And again, it comes around every 4 or 5 years. This is the time to do that. And we are encouraging everybody to get involved and take advantage of getting their name and applying for the test and doing the very best they can. There's certainly training that's available to assist you in making sure to get the best score possible.
Now, if you go on our county website, westchestergov.com, I think it's /HR, you'll get some key information that you need to know about the test that's coming up. I'll repeat again that the deadline date to file to take the test is March 29th, and the actual test administration is May 15th and May 16th. And then after you take the test, maybe Tom, you can help us understand what's the process that happens. Let's assume that you score well on the test, whatever well is, and then now you're on the police civil service list. What happens next? How does any police department or the county police department work from that point forward?
So the county exam is given for not only the county police, but the towns and villages throughout Westchester and the 2 smaller cities of Rye and Peekskill. So when a department has a vacancy and they want to hire, a new officer, they contact County Human Resources and they call for the list. So then Human Resources will send them the group of available candidates that are reachable on the civil service list. Some of the towns and villages may have preferential lists for their own local residents, in which case they can call for their resident list, or they can call for the countywide list. And then from there, that municipality will then start canvassing the people that are next up on the list to see who's interested in taking that job.
Now, there are some restrictions. If you're 65 years of age, you're eligible for a COVID shot, but you're not eligible for taking this test. In fact, it goes all the way down to the age of 35. And if you're 35 or under, I believe is the cutoff point, it's clear on our instruction sheets, you can apply. There have been discussions about raising that age, but at this stage of the game, you have to be 35 or under to take the test. You need not be a citizen at the time you take the test, but you cannot become a police officer until you are a citizen. So it might be that you're applying for citizenship and there's some time frame between now and the final decision. You're eligible to take the test and you're eligible to have the score. And then when citizenship is conferred, you would then be able to do this. The test is open to anyone under that age. There's no other parameters. Obviously, the career will require you to be able to evidence not only the ability to score well at a civil service test, but there is a police academy that follows that really tests you in many ways, in your physical abilities, your mental abilities, your emotional abilities, because we really ask a lot of our police officers. We put them out, in the middle of some of the more dangerous situations, and we ask them to show good judgment. We give them the potential to use deadly force, but we do all types of training to have them avoid using deadly force unless it is absolutely extremely necessary. And now in the current climate, we're trying very hard to make sure that every police officer who is out on the streets has all the proper training and can handle a wide variety of incidents that may happen, incidents that cut across demographic lines, immigrants, issues that deal with mental health, and a host of other different types of individuals you might be dealing with. So with all of that, there's much asked, but this is the sort of initial and the primary step. Terrence, let me ask you sort of the question that everybody would expect, which is that in the current climate, there has been a difficulty in attracting people of color to serve in law enforcement. And I think we all agree that we want to have as diverse a police force as is possible. Is there anything that you think is relevant when you're talking to folks who may have gone through the same experience or potentially would go through the same experience that you do to try to help them feel more comfortable in the potential of looking for a career in law enforcement?
Yeah, well, I think that it's important for especially our younger people to understand that in order to see change that they want, they need to be a part of it. And with respect to feeling comfortable, there's so much training involved in becoming a police officer. As you said, the written exam is just the first step. There's so much more after that. There's a physical agility test, and then a psychological test. And you mentioned the police academy, which is, strenuous and it really challenges you mind and body. And so all of these things, when you encompass all of these things, you come out with the tools you need to really make good decisions and to be a good part of your community and helping to make the change that you believe should be made in the communities you come from. And so I encourage all people, especially those who are underrepresented in law enforcement, to consider taking a job. The police commissioner mentioned earlier, you don't have to take the job, but take the test now. It only comes around every 4 years. Take the exam now and then decide whether or not it's for you as you move along through the steps. But the first step is certainly the most important.
And Terrence, if you would just touch on some of the recruitment efforts that have been going on to try to outreach in specific communities that we think have the best opportunity of attracting potential applicants.
Well, obviously there are many challenges with the pandemic, and so we had to make some adjustments to our recruitment program. So as we speak now, there is in the conference room, there is a Zoom call, whereas we have representatives from the police department giving a presentation at one of the colleges. So that's one of the ways that we attract candidates, by reaching out to the colleges that have criminal justice courses and explaining to them that they may want to consider a rewarding career in law enforcement. We also have the seasonal park rangers that, as you know, we hire them from age 19. And so we also try to cultivate those seasonal park rangers who work in the parks and facilities throughout the county. And we want to encourage them. Look, take the exam. It's coming up. Apply, take it, and let's see where it goes. In addition to that, we reach out to faith-based organizations. In this day and age, with so much social media, we get the information out that way because we really want to encourage people from all walks throughout this county to come join us, take this test, and then see if it's the right job for you.
And Tom, we'll give you some closing thoughts, and then I'll ask Ken to make the final close. You've served for over 35 years in this particular department as a member of the Westchester County Department of Public Safety. And you've done all of the different tasks that exist: detective responsibilities, patrol responsibilities, special investigations, and special situations. What can you say about what this particular department under your direction now represents as a career opportunity for young people?
Well, of course, I'm going to be partial to this department because, as you said, I've been here. Actually, I'm in my 38th year, coming on the job at age 22. So people can easily do that math. And I've had the opportunity, because of all the things that we do here in this department, to, as you mentioned, serve in every unit, every division in the department, and I was fortunate enough to hold every rank in the department. The opportunities here in particular are great because, in addition to municipal patrol, we have all the specialized services and support services that we provide for all the local departments in the county. So there are many opportunities here, and no matter what a person's interest is, if there's something that they would love the opportunity maybe to specialize in down the road after they do some time working in patrol, there are opportunities there of, for those that wish to do that. It's a great department, and as Ken gave a great commercial for us earlier as well for all the things that we do. And I would certainly encourage anyone who is looking to make their community better, make the community safer, just help people and make a difference in people's lives to consider career opportunity with local police departments, and in particular the Westchester County Police. I did want to add, if I could, to what the Deputy Commissioner was saying about our recruitment efforts and the presentations we're doing. Any group that would like to schedule a presentation can email our recruitment team at wcpdrecruitment@westchestergov.com, and we can make our Zoom presentation to whatever group is interested. So we certainly encourage people to do that. We encourage everyone that's listening to this, watching this, that goes to our website, to spread the word and let people know that we are out there. They can go to the department webpage on the county website, follow us on social media to learn more about the department, read our annual report, which is posted right on our county webpage. But what we really need to do is to raise awareness, and we need everyone's help to do that about the test coming up. We want to increase our diversity, and the only way to do that is to get more people to come out and take the exam. Also, I don't know if it was mentioned earlier about test preparation and study materials. There are some free exam preparation materials available on the county human resource website. I believe there may also be a link to some study materials from the state of New York. And while I have the opportunity, I actually have to throw out a little shout out to a private company called Police Tutorial Services that offers training. They are really the leader, the industry leader in test preparation, not only for the entrance exam, but for promotional exams, and have been doing this a long time locally. So that's my little shout out to them, because I owe them a lot of my career as well.
And Ken, let me let you have the last word before we sign off. You've been involved, as I have, in these public policy issues relative to the police reform task force and a host of other things. Why is it important to have a diverse police force, a diverse law enforcement community?
Well, thanks, Judge. And it is critically important. And both Commissioner Gleason and Deputy Commissioner Reyna talked about making a difference by being a part of this. And as George and I have been around through the particular process and the challenges that we've gone through during the last year, and the county executive's leadership in the police reform and reinvention thing, there's a lot of people that understand that the things that happen in public safety right now have been improving and been able to change. And without people that are engaged and involved from every community, there's always a concern whether or not a voice is being heard or a voice is being missed. So this is your opportunity to make a difference and be part of that solution that makes a change in every community. So it's very important that everyone gets an opportunity and take the test that's coming up on May 15th. But you got to apply by the end of March. So March 29th is the end date for those applications. And again, every 4 years is a long time. But George, it is extremely important that every member of our community, where no matter where you live, no matter what you're doing right now, take this opportunity and take this exam. And again, give yourself those choices, but also you have an opportunity to be directly responsible and help and make changes in the community.
Thanks very much, Ken. Thank you very much to Commissioner Sheriff Gleason, Deputy Commissioner Rayner, and thank you for watching. This is an opportunity that comes by very infrequently, but if you register by March 29th, take the test on May 15th or May 16th, you too may become a police officer and start a career in law enforcement here in Westchester County. I'm County Executive George Latimer. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.